Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Mochem Le'Ra Online Smicha. Today we'll discuss a touchy topic, and throughout history there were many Gedolim who opposed this topic, but we can see that even in the halacha it's brought a halacha l'maisa, and this is the issue of Gilgulim, reincarnation. I'll quote to you, obviously the Zohar and the Arizal has a lot about Shar HaGilgulim, but I'll quote you what the Alter Rebbe says it as a halacha l'maisa in Hilchos Talmud Torah. In Hilchos Talmud Torah, Perek Aleph, halacha Dalid, the Alter Rebbe says like this: V'chein amru chachmei ha'emes. Chachmei ha'emes already said, and he actually quotes from the Shar HaGilgulim, from the Arizal. The Arizal says, Kol nefesh miYisrael, every Jew, Sricha lavoi begulgulim rabim, has to come through many times, many reincarnation, ad shetekayim kol tayag mitzvahs, until he manages to fulfill all of the tayag mitzvahs. B'maisa, dibur umachshava. So what does it mean? Dibur umachshava hu limud hilchaseyim. And maisa, as he says, to fulfill it. So much so that it's brought in the Chaim Vital and Shari Gulgulim. It says that today's days, every neshama that's created now will have to come back l'maisa Mashiach, because since now we're not able to fulfill all the mitzvahs that are connected to the Beis HaMikdash, and every neshama has to fulfill every single mitzvah, so they will for sure come back la'asid lavai. I must tell you, in the history, there were great tzaddikim who opposed this whole issue of Gilgulim. Rav Saadia Gaon, Avram ben Arambam, he was against it. The Ramban already mentions it pro Gilgulim, and he calls it the Soid Ha'ibur. And again, Al Pi Kabbalah, the Arizal, and the Zohar, they're pro all the way this idea, and it's, as I said, the Alter Rebbe even quotes the halacha. In Chassidish Svarim, and it's brought many tzaddikim who said they are doing so and so because they know that their neshama is a previous gilgul from a person from the earlier generation who had to be misaken a certain thing. In Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, it's brought, there was a Talmud Chacham story then that a Talmud Chacham passed away very young. And they came to the Baal Shem Tov to ask him, Zu Toida v'Zu Schara, and the Baal Shem Tov said that the reason he passed away young because his person was a Rosh HaSanhedrin in the times of Zechariah HaNavi, and he did something that he had to come back down to be mashlim, and that's why he came down, he did his job, and when he fulfilled his mission, even though it seemed to be young to everybody, but that he was mashlim whatever was needed from the previous time he was down in this world. And throughout the history we find different stories like this. Now, Bichlal, it says in the Magala Amukis Parshas Vaschanan, he says that Gilgul is the same gematria as Chesed. Chesed is 72. Gilgul is also 72, correct? Lamed is 60, and 66, 72. Gilgul 72 and Chesed is 72. What's Pshat? Explains the Megillah Mukas that it's only because of the Eibishter's kindness, knowing that he wants every neshama to ultimately get the reward, the high reward that he's able to get, so he makes it available to him to come back down to do his job, get his job complete. It's not a one-time thing. If it didn't happen for whatever reason, he gives him the opportunity to fix up what he didn't do last time. Reb Chaim Vital in Shara Gilgulim writes that most of the times throughout the concept of Gilgulim, we find it primarily by Zecharim, by male. Al Pi Roiv, we don't find that the neshamas of Nekevas come back down, and there's a reason, because the Scharim are chuyiv in limud Torah, and Torah protects them, whatever it is. But Al Pi Roiv, you don't find the women coming back down. However, the Chidah, in the Sefer Dvash Lefi, he writes, nevertheless, we find that sometimes a woman will go through a gilgul to correct something that her husband had to correct. And he says this is hinted in the pasuk v'yotza ishtai imoy. In Likutei Torah from the Arizal, he writes like this: even though l'roiv, as mentioned before, women don't come back in a gilgul, in reincarnation, yet throughout history he quotes different women who did come back to correct something from the previous generations. Sarah Imenu and Chana and the Shunamis and the Tzarfas were all a gilgul of Chava. Chava made this mistake that she seduced Adam Rishon to eat from the tree, to do the tree. So all these women came back down as a gilgul of Chava to correct her mistake. And it's also brought that Yocheved, Moshe Rabbeinu's mother, was a gilgul of Chava. Rivka was a gilgul of Chava. Rus was a gilgul of Tamar, the daughter-in-law of Yehuda. Abigail, who was one of David HaMelech's wives, was a gilgul of Leah. Devaira, Hanavia, was a gilgul of Tzipora, Ashes, Moshe. And Cosby Bas Tzur was a gilgul of Dinah. So these are the exceptions to the rule. This is the same Arizal who says, L'roiv, the women don't come back begilgul, yet these are, he himself writes, these are exceptions. Now, it's also brought in Shara Gilgulim that the concept of gilgul is not only something that applies to Jews, even Lahavdul Goyim also come back in Gilgulim if they have to correct what they were meant to do. There's a shaila, a very fascinating shaila, that the Noida Yehuda discusses in his Sefer Tzlach, Amaseches Brachas Daf Nun Ches Amud Beis. He says there is a big chakira, and actually the Minchas Elazar in his Sefer Divrei Torah says, I don't know why the Tzlach makes it as if it's his own question. This is a question already based much earlier, starts already early in all the Kabbalah Svarim. But the Tzlach says the question. He says if there's a situation where the neshama came down in a new gilgul, so there's one neshama that throughout the generations might have come into 1, 2, 3 gufim, bodies. So what happens when Mashiach comes and there's going to be tchias amesim? Which one of the bodies will he reconnect to? Which one of it? He came in, he's more than one body. He or she, whatever, more than one body. So we find different answers to this. The Beis Yosef in the Sefer Magid Meisharim, he writes, he'll re-come up in every one of those bodies. Every one of those bodies fulfilled a certain part of the Torah mitzvahs. They all have schusim to come back up. The Abarbanel and Parshas Kisei says no. It will reincarnate together with the first body it was originally in. Because once it comes back and cleans up whatever it had to do, it goes back to the original body. The Sefer Arvei Nachal, he actually says it comes back with the one that solidified it, closed the chapter, cleaned it up. It comes back with the last body. Rab Levi Yitzchak Mibarditchev and Kedushas Levi Parshas Vaschanan, he actually makes a compromise between all these shittas. He says that the new body that he will come up with will be bits and pieces from all bodies from before. Because at every time he was matar, he solidified, he corrected some new thing that wasn't done before. So all bodies together, a bit and piece, an aver from here, an aver from there will create this new body, and Tchias HaMesim will be with the collection from all of them.